Everyone in the courtroom thought he was just another reckless teenager, until he opened his mouth. Then the tables turned, fast. The tension inside the Los Angeles County Courthouse felt heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Every seat in the gallery was filled, whispers buzzing like static as curious eyes fixed on the young man standing at the defense table. He looked too small for the scene, hands tucked in his pockets, head held high, not with arrogance, but with quiet defiance. This was Jalen Dawson, 19 years old, facing charges of grand theft auto and resisting arrest. But from the way Judge Walter Grayson studied him, this trial wasn't just about a stolen car. It was a test of character. The judge leaned back, fingers tapping rhythmically on the polished wood, his glasses slipping down the bridge of his nose as he peered at Jalen. "You think this is a game?" he said with a dry chuckle. "This isn't your high school debate, kid." Laughter rippled through the room, from the bailiff, the stenographer, even the prosecutor. They all assumed Jalen was out of his depth. But he didn't laugh. He didn't even flinch. While other kids memorized basketball stats, Jalen memorized case law. Where they played video games, he played courtroom battles in his mind. He'd grown up watching his mother, Denise Dawson, work as a paralegal. The legal world wasn't foreign to him. It was familiar ground. By 14, he could deconstruct trials better than most first-year law students. None of that mattered to Judge Grayson, though. To him, Jalen was just another street-smart teen on trial. The judge sighed, flipping open the file. "Let's move this along. I've got a tea time at 2. More chuckles followed. But Jalen's lips curved into the faintest smirk. The judge had already made his first mistake, and no one saw it but Jalen. Then came the prosecutor, Mitchell Carrington, striding up with a smug confidence like he'd already won. Impeccably dressed, practiced tone, his speech was smooth and predictable. "The state will show the defendant was caught in a stolen Audi A6. Fingerprints on the wheel, fleeing the scene. The facts speak for themselves," Carrington announced. Gasps and whispers stirred again. It sounded like a closed case, a stolen car, a chase, an arrest. Judge Grayson gave a small nod of approval. But Jalen had studied these performances for years. He knew how prosecutors built illusions from half-truths. The judge finally turned to the defense. Jalen's assigned attorney, Lisa Thornton, looked unsure. She rose hesitantly to speak, but Jalen placed a hand on her arm. She paused, then she sat down. Jalen stepped forward. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor." A hush fell over the courtroom. "You'll what?" Judge Grayson raised his brows. "I'll defend myself." There was laughter, mostly from Carrington, but it didn't last. Because when Jalen started speaking, everything began to shift. "Before I begin, may I confirm something with the prosecution?" Carrington folded his arms, half smiling. "Go ahead." "You said Officer Daniel Ruiz saw me behind the wheel, correct?" "That's right." "And that's what he wrote in his report?" "Of course." Jalen turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I request that the officer's testimony be dismissed from evidence." Grayson looked puzzled. "On what grounds?" "Because Officer Ruiz never saw me in that car. In fact, he wasn't even on duty when the chase began." Now the courtroom stirred again. Carrington blinked. "What are you talking about?" "If the court permits, I'd like to request the GPS records from Officer Ruiz's patrol vehicle. If he truly witnessed me in the car, those logs will confirm his location." Jalen paused, then added calmly, But I suspect they won't. Judge Grayson glanced at the prosecutor. Carrington hesitated, and that hesitation was loud. The jury noticed. The gallery noticed. Grayson noticed. The judge turned toward the prosecution. Any objections to pulling the GPS logs? Carrington's jaw tightened. No objections, Your Honor. The mood in the room shifted again. This wasn't a joke anymore. The prosecutor fumbled with his notes. Regardless, the defendant's fingerprints were found on the steering wheel. Jalen nodded slowly. That's true. He stepped toward the jury. But let's examine what that really means. They thought he was just another kid who got caught. But in under 20 minutes, he dismantled their entire case and exposed the cracks in the justice system itself. Finding my fingerprints in a car means I stole it? That's the story they want you to believe, Jalen said, his voice steady. But let's take a moment and really think this through. He paused, letting the silence build, then continued with a calm, deliberate tone. Imagine you're in a department store. You try on a jacket, zip it up, maybe put your hands in the pockets. Then you put it back. Later that day, someone else steals it. Are you the thief, just because your fingerprints are on it? Several jurors glanced at each other. In the gallery, someone muttered in agreement, but Jalen kept going. The car I'm accused of stealing was parked outside a 7-Eleven hours before it went missing. I was in that store with 3 friends. When we passed the car, I leaned against it. The door was unlocked. Out of dumb curiosity, I opened it. That's it. I didn't steal the car. I didn't drive it. I didn't take anything from it. Just one moment of teenage stupidity. He let the words settle before asking the question that pierced the room like a needle. Does touching something make you a criminal? Prosecutor Carrington flipped nervously through his notes, but Jalen wasn't done. And since we're talking about evidence, he said, turning to the judge, was the forensic specialist who processed the fingerprints subpoenaed to testify today? Judge Grayson blinked, caught off guard. He looked at Carrington, who hesitated. No, Your Honor, the prosecutor admitted. Jalen gave a slow, knowing nod. So let me get this straight. The state is trying to convict me using forensic evidence, but they didn't think it was necessary to bring in the person who collected and analyzed that evidence. No chance for me to question them. No way to verify the process, the handling, or even the accuracy of the result. Carrington's jaw clenched. Interesting, Jalen said simply. Grayson sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. His face now held the realization that this trial wasn't going the way he expected. And still, Jalen wasn't finished. Your Honor, he said, stepping forward, I'd like to enter a critical piece of evidence, an official statement from the vehicle's owner. Grayson raised an eyebrow. The owner? Yes, Raymond Whitaker, the registered owner of the Audi. He gave a statement to police the night the car was reported. For some reason, it's not in the prosecution's case file, but I have a copy. Jalen pulled a printed transcript from his file and read aloud. I left my car running when I went into the gas station. Some kid must have jumped in and driven off. But it wasn't the guy you arrested. I saw him. The kid who stole my car was white. Gasps rippled across the courtroom. This is straight from the original police report, Jalen said. The same report the prosecution conveniently left out. The arresting officer ignored it. The state ignored it. And now they're asking this jury to convict me, someone who doesn't even match the description. Carrington stumbled forward. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. No, Jalen interrupted, not shouting, but commanding the room's attention. It's not. Because I wasn't caught in the car. I was arrested several blocks away, walking home from the store with my friends. I wasn't near the scene when the vehicle was found. I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. ... I was just in the wrong place with the wrong skin color. The room went dead silent. Jalen turned to the jury. The real suspect got away that night. The officers didn't chase the truth. They settled for someone who looked like the stereotype. That's what this trial is really about. Judge Grayson cleared his throat. Does the prosecution have anything further? Carrington, red-faced and stiff, gave a curt shake of his head. No, Your Honor. The judge looked down, then back at Jalen. Case dismissed. The words rang through the courtroom like a gavel cracking the floor. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then, noise. The gallery erupted, half in disbelief, half in awe. Reporters scrambled to take notes. Cameras flashed. But Jalen didn't flinch. He just stood there, calm. Grayson gripped his gavel tightly, staring at the young man who had just turned his courtroom upside down. His expression had changed. No longer smug or detached. There was something else in his eyes. Recognition. Maybe even regret. Jalen met his gaze for a moment. Then he turned toward the exit. But just before he reached the door, Grayson spoke again. Mr. Dawson. Jalen stopped. You should consider law school. Jalen smirked. Already on my way, Your Honor. Outside, the courthouse steps were swarmed with reporters, microphones in hand, cameras aimed at his face. Jalen, how does it feel to beat the case? Did you always plan to represent yourself? What comes next? He pulled his hoodie over his head and walked past them without a word. This moment wasn't for them. This wasn't about attention. It wasn't about ego. This was about justice. And it wasn't over. At the bottom of the steps, his mother was waiting. Denise Dawson stood, with her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then she let out a breath and said, Boy, you scared me half to death. Jalen chuckled. Had to take the risk, Ma. She pulled him into a hug. You always were the stubborn one. Across the street, Judge Grayson stood beside his car, watching. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. But he was thinking. He'd expected this case to be quick, easy. Just another name, another file, another conviction. But this one, he would remember. Because Jalen didn't just beat the system, he forced it to look in the mirror. And for once, it blinked first. The lesson? This wasn't just Jalen's story. It's a warning, a reminder. How many cases like his have slipped through the cracks? How many innocent lives buried under bad assumptions, lazy work, and unchecked bias? If this story opened your eyes, even for a second, share it. Let's hold the system accountable. Because next time, it might not be Jalen. It might be someone you know. Subscribe for stories that matter, and let's keep the conversation going.